If they hadn't been rescued and brought over to England, these children would have been killed by the Nazis. But in fact, they were saved by an English stockbroker called Nicholas Winton. In all, Nicholas Winton and the committees who helped him managed to save 664 children. This is his scrapbook. There are all kinds of fascinating pictures in it. But back here, you will see, is the list of all the children and the foster families who took them in. We asked as many as possible of these grown-up children to get in touch with us, so they'd have the chance to thank Mr. Winton personally. Can I ask, is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, could you stand up, please? Mr. Winton, would you like to turn round?
My sister and I were put on a Kindertransport, one of 10 trains leaving Germany and Austria. It was 1,000 children up to the ages of 16 and came to England with a very traumatic journey without nationality, because Hitler had taken nationality away. And you're classed as Jewish, I think, if you're up to 1/16 Jewish. And the feeling that my life was saved, and for a lot of my childhood I was kept being reminded that my life had been saved, aren't you lucky not to have gone up in smoke and all that sort of thing, has made me really convinced I have to make my life worth saving, and each day you spend as if it would be your last.
Let me take you back to the early 1960s. To get past the gender issues of the time, I set up my own software house, one of the first such startups in Britain, but it was also a company of women, a company for women, an early social business. And people laughed at the very idea, because software at that time was given away free with hardware. Nobody would buy software, certainly not from a woman. And although women were then coming out of the universities with decent degrees, there was a glass ceiling to our progress. And I'd hit that glass ceiling too often. And I wanted opportunities for women. I recruited professionally qualified women who'd left the industry on marriage or when their first child was expected, and structured them into a home-working organisation. And we pioneered the concept of women going back into the workforce after a career break. We pioneered all sorts of new flexible work methods, job shares, profit sharing, and eventually co-ownership, when I took a quarter of the company into the hands of the staff at no cost to anyone but me.
I did find the computer industry so fascinating. It has some of the beauty of mathematics. It has a lot of logic in it, a sort of puzzle element to it, made for a very fulfilling life, really. You realise that you had actually created something. You know, if you like programming, it's marvellous. If you don't like it, it's just one of those sort of mysteries in life. I registered the name Freelance Programmers and aimed to build up some sort of little company. I certainly had no idea it was going to be as big as it was, as important as it was. We pioneered home working, job sharing, sort of flexible working, and that was just on the non-technical side. We were just at the beginning of the software industry. Nobody else was really out there. We were competing against computer companies who didn't know much about software. And neither did I, really, because how long had I been working in software? A few years. I felt I wasn't really getting any responses from the letters that I was sending out offering services. My husband actually suggested that perhaps it was good old-fashioned sexism. They saw a letter from Stephanie Shirley and just went in the bin. So I started writing as Steve Shirley, and the work did start slowly to flow in, and I've been Steve ever since.
In 1975, 13 years from start-up, equal opportunities legislation came in Britain, and that made it illegal to have our pro-female policies. And as an example of unintended consequences, my female company had to let the men in. When I started my company of women, the men sort of said, "How interesting," because it only works because it's small. And later, as it became sizable, they sort of accepted, yes, it is sizable now, but of no strategic interest. And later, when it was a company valued at over $3 billion, and I'd made 70 of the staff into millionaires, they sort of said, "Well done, Steve." You can always tell ambitious women by the shape of our heads. They're flat on top for being patted patronizingly. Let me share with you 2 secrets of success. Surround yourself with first-class people and people that you like. And choose your partner very, very carefully. Because the other day when I said, "My husband's an angel," a woman complained. "You're lucky," she said. "Mine's still alive." If success were easy, we'd all be millionaires. But in my case, it came in the midst of family trauma and indeed crisis. Our late son, Giles, was an only child, a beautiful, contented baby. And then, at 2.5, like a changeling in a fairy story, he lost the little speech that he had and turned into a wild, unmanageable toddler. Not the terrible twos. He was profoundly autistic. And he never spoke again. Giles was the first resident in the first house of the first charity that I set up to pioneer services for autism. And then there's been a groundbreaking Prior's Court School for pupils with autism and a medical research charity, again, all for autism. Because whenever I found a gap in services, I tried to help. Giles died unexpectedly 17 years ago now. And I have learnt to live without him, and I have learnt to live without his need of me. And philanthropy is all that I do now. I need never worry about getting lost because several charities would quickly come and find me.
Bossy, I was vulnerable, but a high flyer, self-willed, undisciplined. I was a beauty, an odd, not so much an oddball, a one-off. Nobody else quite liked me.
Thanks for watching another WeDev digital production. Please press all the happy buttons. Visit our website for all of your software and website needs.